Hi, I'm Tim Robinson, Editor-in-Chief of Aerospace, and with me virtually this time is Deputy Editor Steve Bridgewater.
Hi, guys.
And Features Editor Jack Richardson.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to another episode of Aerospace NOTAM, our podcast and video cast looking at global aviation, aerospace and space news and what we have upcoming in the next issue of Aerospace, this time May 2025. In the magazine, we cover everything from GA to spaceflight, from airliners to airports, from defence to eVTOLs. And what an issue we've got for you this month. Yeah. But first, a message from our sponsors. So this episode of RES Podcast is proudly brought to you by Lockheed Martin, pioneering the future of aerospace, defence and security. The focus on delivering all-domain mission solutions and transformation technologies. Lockheed Martin is providing unmatched capabilities and interoperability for the UK and allied militaries around the world. Learn more at lockheedmartin.com. Anyway, with that out of the way, we're going to go and see where we've been in the past month. So who wants to kick off?
Shall I go
I'll
first?
start if you like.
Oh, you go ahead, Jeff. You go first.
We recently hosted the remotely piloted autonomous air systems conference at number 4 Hamilton Place, which was really interesting. Had a whole range of participants from across the industry, so developments in drones to deliver medical supplies and protect wildlife, all sorts. It was a very interesting couple of days.
Okay, fantastic. Steve, what about you?
I had a busy day yesterday. Actually, I did two things yesterday. I'll do them individually. But first thing, I went to the Royal Overseas League for the Aviation Club UK to see the CEO of Finnair talk. So it was a lunch with him. So Turka took over just over a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, as CEO, formerly the CEO of the Finnish Post Office. So comes to the airline industry with a commercial and a business background as opposed to a conventional airline background, although his dad was a Finnair pilot, so he has got that aviation heritage, and touched on lots of things, so including fleet renewal, particularly with their narrow body fleet, and the challenges they're having with being a nation that has a border with Russia, and obviously airspace around there not the best at the moment. So what really impressed me, actually, and we'll presume to do a blog about this at some point, is he was very cognitive that he had employed a team of experts. So when asked questions about fleet renewals or route expansions, he would generally defer and say, well, my team will make the decision on that and I'll back them up. So I think an interesting angle there from an airline CEO to say, it's not just me being dictatorial here and this is what we're going to do. It's actually, I'm surrounded by experts and I'll support them. But it was a nice angle.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. So this week I've been out at Aerolis, who had a sort of industry day briefing event down in Gosport with Standard Aero, just showing off how far they've come. So this is the UK modular light aircraft, really innovative concept, a lot of digital design in there, and it's basically being pitched as a light trainer in the mold of the Hawk. They are pitching it to not only the UK but France and Qatar, as well as other customers, and they've basically done a substantial amount of the R&D already, and they're just now kind of waiting now for kind of the next sort of round of investment or what have you, and to kind of go forward with this project. So really interesting stuff, and it's one of those things now that the changing geopolitical situation, I think, has really thrown these guys a lifeline in terms of now the first question people are asking is, is this a homegrown project? Is it ITAR free, et cetera? So the idea of a Anglo-French trainer coming out of this is suddenly I think it's now kind of gaining ground, gaining momentum, and there's a big question now, obviously, over the Red Arrows. They've been in the news about that, and there's the various people who've got views on it. What would be the best aircraft for the Red Arrows, but also the Hawk. The RAF have been, Chief of the Air Staff has been quite vocal about that. They want to get rid of the Hawk T2 as soon as possible, which is quite sort of unusual. But we've got the whole holding pattern there of SDR, as to do we wait for SDR? Their view is we don't need it's going to go out to private finance. You don't need there's not enough capital expenditure needed on the government's part, so that's great. But also the other interesting thing there is with a French link, and if the French get involved, then that potentially opens up the €500 billion European rearmament fund. Okay, right. So there's some interesting stuff going on there. It's a very light. It's very looking at it, it's taking a lot of stuff that's kind of COPS off the shelf stuff. I know the landing gear is coming straight from Hawk.
That's interesting.
And Leonardo doing the wide angle display. So it's not reinventing the wheel. It's just this modular concept that is the innovative part, and also the digital design and creating a factory from scratch as well, like a whole digital twin of the factory. So, really, really interesting stuff there. Right. You had another... what about you, Jack?
I was also at the Destination Equal Skies 2025 conference, which is a really inspiring event, talking about how to get people with disabilities into the aviation industry. So some very, very interesting people talking about how perceptions matter in this, and the way, and tapping into the pool of people with disabilities could be a way to address the potential labour shortages the industry could face in the coming years.
So this is about recruitment, skills, careers, rather than sort of passenger accessibility, which is what we normally kind of think of when we have these events, isn't it?
Yeah, they're labouring the point that that the industry is more than just having pilots, cabin crew, and people and ground engineers. There's far more to it than that, which for roles such as designing cabins, which can be done. Which can be done if you have a disability. So, and it was done in partnership with Airability, a charity whose mission is to help more people with disabilities learn to fly.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah, it's a very interesting event.
Cool. And Steve, you saw a Spitfire, or part of a Spitfire?
I saw a Spitfire in central London yesterday. Yes. Coming back from my Finnair lunch, called into the RAC club in Pall Mall and see our old friend Tony. So for those that don't know, Tony is leading up the project to restore a very rare Mark IV photo reconnaissance Spitfire. So it's a Mark I Spitfire fitted out with cameras for aerial photography. And this aircraft was shot down in 1942 whilst photographing the Tirpitz. Its pilot was captured and was subsequently one of the great escapers. So it's got a great story with it. And between now and May the 12th, you can actually go and see the fuselage of this aircraft mid-restoration in the foyer of the RAC Club in Pall Mall. It's completely free. Anyone can walk in and see it. But alongside it, they've got a Fraser Nash Shelsley hill climbing racing car, which is road legal. Believably the fastest road legal Fraser Nash they ever built. And that car was owned by one of the pilots who flew AA810, that very Spitfire. So that's the link there. And Tony will be on hand as well to talk about it. And they're doing a fantastic job, not just restoring the aeroplane, but they're also doing a lot of STEM work. So they've got outreach with young people and also young trainee engineers who can go down. So the aircraft's being rebuilt on the Isle of Wight. And they're actually, you can put a rivet in a Spitfire as part of your training, part of your apprenticeship, part of your STEM programs. So doing a lot of work with airlines and organisations like that. But if you're in central London, RAC clubs on Pall Mall between now and May the 12th, go and have a look.
Fantastic.
That's what we need to get the next generation interested in the sector.
Really inspiring, yeah. Who doesn't like Spitfire?
Well, talking of historic aircraft, I paid a flying visit to Duxford a couple of weeks ago. Just stopped off, and the usual sort of thing of you going past it and you see the sign and you think, oh, I'll just dive in there. There's some changes afoot there in major movements there and they're moving things there, big objects there. So a little bit of a slight shock going on there, but it's still a great day out, and it's still going there, and you're still finding new stuff to have a look at. I can't wait. I mean, nothing. There wasn't anything really sort of flying there in terms of a flying display. There was a pleasure flights going on and texts and getting airborne, but no, just a nice little kind of visit and see what's going on.
You can't beat a day at an aeroplane museum, can you?
No. Right, so on to our news. In the wider world, what else has been happening? Well, quite a bit, hasn't it?
Quite a bit yet again, yeah.
Quite a bit. I think we should. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to take editor-in-chief's privilege. We've had some interesting news there about China and looking at supersonic flight. If you recall, we had an article in the March edition of Aerospace where we had some quotes saying that China's working on a supersonic airliner. This appears to be firming up a little bit. There's a COMAC sponsored or COMAC academic paper, and it's got designation. It's C949, so that tells you that it's sort of semi-serious there. It's an academic paper. There's still obviously they're seem to be targeting 2050, and it seems to be one of a range of options that China is looking at for the 2050 timeframe. So really, it's something that obviously Boom Supersonic are keeping an eye on. And it's something that we've said before. We've kind of hinted at or speculated that is the next supersonic air travel kind of race going to be between the US and China. So a little bit of movement there, and kind of things firming up. What about other people?
Well, I've got a future airliners story as well. Actually, our blueprint in the magazine. Those who are familiar with the magazine, the first 2 pages of the news are a double-page spread artwork of a future aircraft or future aviation technology. And this month we've got the Olympic airliner by Outbound Aero, which is a Seattle-based startup. So another blended wing body program coming to the fore here. They unlike a lot of them, which are purely paper projects at this point, they have now flown a 1/8 scale technology demonstrator called Steve. Steve has flown. Steve is standing for Scale Technology Vehicle. So they've undertaken tests with that, and this is a really interesting project. It's ultimately aiming at a 250-seat blended wing body airliner. And the graphics they've provided to us show it has folding wings. So it's something which we know Airbus have been looking at. With the very wide, future efficient wings, which are not going to fit onto existing ramp space and existing jetties at airliners, so at airports. So Olympic has folding wings as well, predictive maintenance, lots of things that you would imagine from a future airliner. But interesting to see that this is one which has gone beyond the paper digital mock-up style and actually have created something. So this is going to be an interesting one to watch, I think.
Well, there's a bit of a trend, isn't there, in the rest of the news as well with blended wing body airliners. We've also, so there's now 3 projects, 3 companies in the US working on BWBs. Yeah. You've got Outbound, you've got Jet Zero, and you've got Nautilus.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's 3. And Jet Zero, they had United Airlines come on board as a partner, joining Alaska, joining Delta. Interestingly there, and obviously they've obviously got the USCF interested as well. Plus there's a European research project, and Cranfield University will be kind of the lead for investigating, and it sounds like subscale demonstrators for future airliners, and they're blended wing body.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, a whole kind of push now that the blended wing bodies are back. So really interesting to watch that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting graphic because it goes into lots of potential features, also including the larger doors for faster entry and exit that these aircraft would enable.
Well, I mean, that fits in with Cranfield, doesn't it? Because Cranfield are looking at doing some evacuation trials from blended wing body, because it's a whole different question, isn't it? If you've got people sat a long way away from the conventional entrance that you would have. So yeah, it's the fact that we've got organisations such as Cranfield University investigating things like that again suggests there's some mileage in this.
Definitely. And Jack, what about you? What have you found in the news?
This is an interesting defence story. So there have been reports that Italy could purchase Japan's Kawasaki P1 maritime patrol aircraft, and in return, Japan could purchase Italy's M346 trainer aircraft. Now, this would be interesting because although the M346 has been widely exported already, this would be the first time the P1's been exported after several false dawns. This could be quite an important dynamic, given both our partners in the GCAP program with the UK.
And this has sort of happened before a little bit, hasn't it? Because Italy, I believe, exported M346 to Israel, and Israel provided the conformal AEW aircraft in return. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So there could definitely be a precedent here.
Yeah. Okay. And back to me again. So space story here. Another sort of like another thing to kind of ponder from the White House, causing waves, tariffs, you name it. But this is now NASA facing a 50% cut in its science program. So obviously they're on a mission to cut out waste. They are trying to sort of look at ways to get savings. But there's a proposal now to cut the agency's science budget by 50%, and people describe that as an extinction level event. So that would kill things such as Mars sample return, the Da Vinci mission to Venus, the Nancy Great Roman Space Telescope, all this good stuff. Close the Goddard Space Flight Center, and really deal them a body blow. I mean, it's incredible when you think of some of the science that is being done, and you only have to look at some of the news that was coming out a couple of weeks ago about potential planet where signs of life had been detected, and that was that was the Webb Space Telescope, wasn't it?
Yeah. So do we think this is going to present an opportunity maybe for ESA, for some of these scientists that are perhaps looking to continue their career but can't do so at NASA? Will there be a brain drain effectively, and some of that skill set will come out to other parts of the world?
It could, yeah. Well, it could well be a brain drain in reverse, as well as obviously some of the more hostile policies there to people who are perhaps working on trying to get visas and things like that. So yeah, I mean that's and also for the international partners, if you're thinking, right, okay, when you're doing a long-term project like a space probe and it's decades in the making, and you start off it, and you're again, it's that idea of a reliable partner. Is this funding going to survive multiple administrations? So yeah, it's an opportunity in some ways, but it's also, I think, pretty shocking for people in other space agencies around the world who are collaborating with NASA. And a lot of these science projects are now, it may say NASA space probe to wherever, but there's actually European stuff on there, or there's kind of instruments from Canada, or et cetera. So yeah, it's not good news, I think. What else have we got?
I've got a Chinese story, actually. We talked about Chinese supersonic potential at the start of the show. big expansion this month in Chinese drone production. So we've got three major big cargo drones that have taken flight in the last sort of 4 or 5 weeks. So the company called Air White Whale have flown their prototype of their W5000 drone, which is it's massive. It's 74.5-foot wingspan, twin turboprop, believed to be the largest uncrewed cargo vehicle that's yet flown. It's got a 5-ton payload on it. So that's one. You've got AVIC have also flown their latest version of their TP500 cargo UAV. And then there's another organisation called Yitong, which have produced their TP1000. Now, if you look at the pictures of this, it looks suspiciously like a Britten-Norman Islander. But this is completely uncrewed, designed for autonomous use. It's obviously China, massive area to cover with cargo. And it's sort of I think it's interesting that you see that as a particular hotbed of development in this. We're seeing autonomous cargo across the world. So we had our past conference, as Jack said at the start of the show recently, for that sort of that final mile of delivery. But the middle mile, which is and growing increasingly important. We also had a similar story in the news with a company called Aeroline, which have got a towed cargo aircraft. So if you imagine, a few years ago, Airbus were talking about having this fellow fly project, which is now coming into testing, where if you imagine a flock of geese and they ride the wake of the geese in front of them, or goose in front of them. This is an organisation in the US which has started to tow cargo aircraft, and their ultimate plan is to have up to 3 cargo drones being towed by a cargo aircraft. So you've got economies of scale there in terms of fuel consumption, and the idea being that you can fly a route from A to B and drop off these your 3 cargo aircraft at specific points along the way. So I think lots of development in the cargo field.
What
nature again?
What do you think is driving that then, Steve? Do you think that this is commercial logistics for the fact that China is just big and there's bits of it that are remote and you haven't got the roads and things like that, or are we looking at these are military projects and it's resupply in the Asia Pacific theatre?
I think it's fair to assume that these are being developed as cargo aircraft with an eye on future development into a military. Look at a lot of the aircraft that were developed during the interwar period in Germany, which were developed as postal planes, for example, mail planes, which subsequently found military uses in sort of 1939 onwards. It's although it's not been specifically said, I think you can read between the lines as to what potential use there are for most of these uncrewed aircraft. So there are uncrewed rotor aircraft coming out of China as well, which have got, although they're perhaps described as firefighting aircraft, have undoubtedly, if you put your thinking hat on, you can come up with other uses for them.
Excellent. Jack, what about you?
This is a space story, and it's we've heard about setbacks with space flight across the world, and this time it's one from Europe. So a German startup called AEROSPACE were due to launch the first payload from European soil, specifically from the north of Norway. But this failed shortly after takeoff, having been postponed due to poor weather. But interestingly, this particular flight didn't actually have any cargo on board. It was purely for testing. But despite the setback, the company still have a fully booked schedule of launches going forward.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it was a spectacular location that they were launching from, and some spectacular footage there of it blowing up in the sea, which is going to make for a sizzle reel, a great sizzle reel when they be a success. I mean, we've seen before with sort of SpaceX, spaceflight is hard, and you are going to have these setbacks. So I wouldn't draw too much from it in this instance. And they've still got a quite a healthy kind of launch manifest of customers. To. So but best of luck next time anyway.
Yeah.
So back to me. It's on defence story for me, and wow, Saab are doing really well at the moment, with some deals coming through. So they've been looking at Colombia for a while, and finally a letter of intent has been signed with Sweden to purchase the Gripen E. So that's going to replace existing fighters. They're getting about 16 aircraft. It's not a huge deal, but really significant, I think, for Saab and also for Brazil, because obviously there's a tight partnership there on the Gripen E, the Gripen F with Brazil and Embraer for Saab. So that was a big win in Latin America, South America for Saab, and they're also now. Sweden has now authorised enter negotiations with Peru for 12 Gripens. So again, another South American country looking at Gripens, and one has to look at that and go, is that driven by proclamations from the White House and the US sort of the new geopolitics there, in that people are now accelerating their purchases, and they're looking for kind of non-aligned, non-ITAR as much as possible. Obviously, Gripen has got US content, but they're looking for to kind of have this shift away from kind of US suppliers in some respects. And the other thing there also was up to a sale of up to 4 GlobalEye AEW aircraft for Denmark. No,
that came left the field, didn't it?
Yeah, no. Who would have thought for Denmark would have a bigger AEW fleet than the UK, the RAF? So again, really good, really positive news for Saab there, and picking up on this new geopolitics. Steve, you got something on GA?
I've got this far and we haven't talked about GA, so I think I probably should do, shouldn't I? True to form. So the former head of CASA, which is the Australian equivalent of our CAA, Dick Smith, has launched a £10,000 prize for the first all-electric flight between the UK and Australia. So we know from history, if you look at Lindbergh crossing the Atlantic, if you look at Alcock and Brown crossing the Atlantic, so Smith, and a lot of these pioneers were driven by prize money. In recent years, I guess you could say the X Prize as well, with Rutan and taking their Spaceship One into space twice, was for the X Prize, the Starry Prize money. So good to see. I think we're still quite a way away from electric aircraft making journeys of that length of distance. I know that Bristol and H-55 this year are planning to fly an electric aircraft coast to coast in the US. So that will be in relatively small hops and as part of a sales tour more than anything else. But good to see some prize money being offered. I think it's a relatively small amount of money, but it's a good opportunity, I think, to set the wheels in motion for something like this, which is an important proving flight. England to Australia has always been one of those landmark trips. If you look back at the likes of Amy Johnson and people like that, it's one of those that I think will get electric aircraft into the public eye more than anything, and I think that's perhaps the most important thing from this.
But just to clarify then for our listeners and viewers, we're talking about, this is not non-stop electric flight. This is doing in short hops.
Exactly.
So there's going to have to be recharging at every point. I think that's going to be one of the challenges is dropping down and these short hops and having a recharging station at every kind of kind of air base or airfield you kind of drop into. Okay.
Again, if you look back at the likes of Amy Johnson, she was having to pre-position cans of petrol or aviation fuel along the route as well. So it's that similar sort of logistical exercise that we're looking at now, although with more of a technological base. It's not just pre-shipping a jerry can out there. There needs the infrastructure to go with it. But again, that's what the industry needs, is that role. I think there's a UK company called AeroVolt, which are doing these charging stations across the UK now, and there are others overseas. So again, maybe that's an opportunity to scale that out, and into parts of the world which currently don't have access to any sort of electric aircraft.
And finally, back to you again, Jack. What have you got to finish us off for the news?
Well, a report's come out into the 2019 Sukhoi Superjet crash in Moscow, and the report has said that the number of fatalities was partly caused by passengers stopping to pick up their luggage as they were trying to get out of the aircraft, which meant evacuation was hindered, resulting in 41 people being killed.
Yeah, so that I mean that's something that our flight operations group has been warning about, hasn't it, Jack? With their specialist papers, and really it's one of the things where we've seen it in every evacuation. You see people sort of taking their luggage, taking selfies, all the sorts of things that the flight attendants say don't do. And on this occasion, it seems it has actually resulted in tragedy. And having looked at the sort of testimony from one of the witnesses, she was saying that the way out was completely blocked. A jam in there, it was impassable. Because people were taking that, and that is just just horrendous, horrendous to have that happen. And when it
results in loss of life.
When it's been warned about, time and time again. So a sad. We don't want to sort of say we told you so, but there's a sad thing there that actually, this has actually occurred.
And it needs to be pointed out.
On that note, let's go to a slightly more cheerful thing. We've got our segment of the podcast this month. It's going to be an interview with outgoing RAS President David Chin. Back after the break. Hi, I'm Tim Robinson. I'm here with outgoing Royal Aeronautical Society President David Chin, who this month hands over the reins to our new president. Welcome back to NOTAM, David.
Tim. Hi.
How are you?
Not too bad. Yeah, it's gone quickly. I can't remember. I can't believe it's almost a year since we did this before. So
yeah. So for those people who don't know, who don't understand, every year a president is elected. They get a year to do stuff and be the president. So last year you were on the show. You explained your president focus themes. What were they and why?
yeah, so 3 themes that I announced and I've been working on: design, build, fly. So what's that turned into in the course of the year? Experiential learning. Why do I think that's important? Because actually, for the community, actually touching real aeroplanes, it is to me is what it's about a lot of the time. That turned into a conference that we'll talk about in a second, which was really good, brought a lot of stakeholders together. So that's been a focus for my presidential year, my big theme, if I can put it that way. Second theme was the professionalisation of space. We are the AEROSPACE Society, I haven't changed the name, but we are the Space Society in the sense of covering space. Obviously not from when we were grounded in 1866, it was just an aspiration there. But being a focus for aerospace professionals, space professionals, trying to define what our offer is has been something that I've been working on externally in terms of the working with young people, the SEDS community, the space students, UK Space Agency, ESA, that sort of thing. But internally, doing work with the staff to say, okay, what is the space offer? How do we represent that in terms of recognition and reward, which is really what the science is about for professional membership. And the third thing was sustainability, something that I'm not going to solve in a year, but engaging in that community, going to the Clean Aviation Summit in Brussels, supporting the ongoing initiatives there. Fascinating. I've learned a lot. I'm not going to change the world. So they're my 3 themes: design, build, fly, professionalisation of space, and supporting our sustainability initiatives.
Brilliant. Okay, and you've had a whirlwind year. I mean, trying to keep up with where you've been and what you've been up to. What's been the highlights?
Yes, it has been quite busy, and good that you made that observation. So my view of what I should have been doing, what I have been doing in the year, is there's clearly a senior representational role as the president. The president does represent the society, so quite a lot of hosting VIPs or mixing VIPs. So we had the head of the European Space Agency here, which is great. Over in Brussels, meeting with the head of EARS, meeting with the head of the CAA. So that sort of VIP interfacing, which I think is important for the society, showing a professional face there. Also, the other end of the scale, one of the things I've been trying to do is to inspire the next generation. That clearly has to be another major role of the society, of the president, and I've been doing that both in the space domain I just mentioned, interfacing with the UK SEDS, so the UK space students. We signed an agreement with them, so they're now part of the society, which to me was a really, really good thing to do. I was at the Race to Space, which is the student competition for design and building and test firing rocket engines. Wonderful initiative. Alistair John at Sheffield, plug for Alistair, great job there. But actually getting people doing real high-end engineering. Yeah. And why does that matter? Because that goes in, again, to this experiential learning, really good practical experience, really good theory, and really then helpful in terms of developing young people's CVs and making them very employable. And so that's, so it's really the front face of the society to VIPs, great thing, some good dinners, but also spending time on airfields or on workshops with young people. And you'll see some videos online with me down out in Frederikshavn with the German Ackerflieg, so the students that design, build and fly sailplanes, really, really inspirational. And I think the last thing I'd say is certainly, and it's not very visible, but as chair of the council, the president is chair of the council, trying to interpret my vision of the charter, and I keep coming back to the charter, further in the art and science of aerospace, that is what our Royal Charter says. And for me, that goes back to where I started, which was at the Royal Aircraft Establishment, which really was about doing practical high-end aviation.
Yeah. Well, it's great you've been able to kind of, have both the high-end, the VIP stuff, and the thing that perhaps people see the most, and also that grassroots keeping in touch at the what's going on with your kind of local airfield as well. Fantastic. So, favourite moments, visits, people.
Well, it has been quite a full diary. I think locally, going around the branches, it's been great. Sorry, I haven't got around to everybody, but certainly I've been very welcome. People who know me personally, that's where I started. I've been involved in a number of branches over the years. So it's really, really great getting around, seeing people. The society is its membership, both individual and corporate members, seeing that local engagement, both the individuals running the branches, which is a lot of work, I know, I used to stuff envelopes years ago, but also seeing that industrial engagement locally, so the support in the branch, that's been really, really, really encouraging. Personally, I mentioned Aero Frederikshavn. For those of you who don't know it, the biggest GA show in Europe, General Aviation Show in Europe. I've been there twice, so a year ago and then just recently. That to me has been fascinating because it brings together students in sailplanes through to high-end GA, which is sort of high net worth individuals trying to use their time machines to save time around the world. So seeing that range, which doesn't actually get much exposure in the UK because it isn't covered at any air shows that I know in the UK. So seeing that bit was a personal high, and as I say, sort of just mixing and having a beer, if I can say that, with the Ackerflieg people in the evening. That was great.
Fantastic. Well, you've been forging kind of new links. I mean, our Berlin Brandenburg branch seems to be going kind of great guns. So forging new links and with the kind of German, Anglo-German kind of relations. Right, great. But you've had to do this. So just for information, David has got a full-time job. How's it been juggling that and your presidential role when there are all these demands on your time?
I think challenging. I mean, firstly, you can't do it without having a supportive employer, so that's great. But definitely it is a challenge, and I'll be quite glad to get some weekends and evenings back, to be honest. So yeah, I mean, it's clearly a privilege. I signed up to it. I've had to prioritise. I prioritise my themes.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things I've had to turn down, so sorry if I've turned stuff down because I've just been doing other stuff. And And yeah, I'll be quite glad to get back to a bit of normal life. I went gliding last Friday for the first time since August. so yeah, it's a challenge, but it is a privilege, and yeah, you just have to prioritise.
More time for gliding, more time for flight simulation now.
Probably gliding, actually.
So as well as visits to local branches, speech, going out to air shows, you've had a couple of historic firsts, which I think which is really exciting. Okay, so first we think we're pretty sure you've been the first president to fly an electric aircraft, and the first president to fly a jetpack. So tell us more about those experiences. Because this is historic. This is for the history books here, folks.
Well, firstly, it's great that the society gives me the opportunity to do that sort of thing. So there's a serious aspect, as in reaching out to interesting companies and engaging there. I'd say it's been quite fun as well, if I'm being honest. So there is a bit of fun element there. But in terms of the two things you mentioned, firstly, flying the Pipistrel Electro. That was a tremendous experience. I'm a GA pilot, not a very experienced one. So for me, getting out, seeing the Electro, the first certified electric trainer, was fascinating. Having a good poke round it, you did some reporting on that elsewhere. So that was fascinating, just to see technology. It's actually, don't quote me on this, it's quite a simple high-wing two-seat aeroplane.
Okay.
But actually, the fact that it is a certified electric trainer and sitting in the thing and flying it, was fascinating, very quiet, as you'd expect. You know, the comparison with electric cars is there. When it stops on the taxiway, there's no noise. Basic things like that. So it is, from that point of view, like an electric car. In the air, again, very quiet, fascinating to see, very simple, controls very simple. The thing that I think I was correctly concentrating on, different to a Cessna 152 or something like that, was the battery display. So it was scan, check your instruments, battery display, scan, check your instruments, battery display. So keeping an eye on that battery was part of the game, because that's where the challenges really are, and was personally fascinating. So that was a great experience, and thanks for setting that up, Tim. That was great. On the Gravity side, so the jetpack, so Gravity, small company. Fascinating to see how they've gone from quite a wacky idea, I don't think they'd mind me saying that, of 4 little jet engines that mounted, but using that for, in various use cases, both civilian and military, seeing how they developed that. But I think the thing that was also interesting, apart from having a go, which was like doing yoga with with 4 jet engines on your arm, was physically very demanding, but was to see how their innovation cycle, how they've gone from quite crude prototypes to something that they're rapidly iterating for various use cases, trying to build actually quite a big SME with a lot of diverse customer base, but also, again, that link into the young people. One of the things I was fascinated, and I'll be following up, is the people that are coming out of Race to Space, so the design rocket engines, exactly the sort of young engineers that they're trying to get into their ecosystem. So that was fascinating and encouraging to see that one of my themes joins to another theme, which is how do we stimulate the SME growth and encourage that sort of innovative and rapid iteration of design. So cool stuff, quite fun, but serious aspects on both sides.
Yeah, and the inspirational aspect of that as well, in terms of electric flight for one, hitting your sustainability, your environmental focus, but also. Yeah, the idea of flying an Iron Man style jetpack.
Yeah, it's quite a good one.
You weren't tethered though.
I was tethered. Yeah, no, I think for anybody who sees the video, I think flying one professionally or untethered is quite a big ask. But the Pipistrel is quite a simple aeroplane to fly, and that is mainstream.
Yeah.
I'm not doing any marketing, but you can actually do basic training. In fact, what they were talking to us about. Was doing the initial training on an electric aeroplane, dead simple, and then moving on to more conventional piston aircraft a bit later on when you've done the initial training in a sustainable way is the marketing.
Yeah. Well, you've certainly raised the bar in terms of sort of like presidential flights there as to the next president now. We're going to have to think of something even more exciting than jetpack. That's a pretty tough thing. I don't know. Suborbital, maybe. You mentioned RE Farnborough. and your career there, what general advice would you give for anybody who's watching, young people watching this and people think, oh wow, how did they get to be, president there and do all this cool stuff?
So I think for me, a bit of an accident of history. I was lucky to start my career at the Royal Aircraft Establishment, where we just used to play with airplanes. I don't mean that in a sugar way, but the everyday exposure was to experimental aviation, and you just went away and did the stuff. It was normal at the time. I think we've lost that somewhere in the UK at the moment, which is one of my themes for Design, Build, Fly. And I think following that in a serious but not too serious vein is, I think early career, definitely go and play with airplanes. I mean, and definitely, if you're an engineer, looking at the engineering council requirements or a pilot or anything like that, just going out and playing with stuff in a professional way will just get you experience. So I'd suggest early on, take any opportunities to do practical aviation, whatever that means. I think a bit later on in life, as you become a bit more grown up, just take opportunities. I mean, I've done a lot of random stuff, and opportunities, if you take them, they will broaden your perspective. And one of the things I see interacting with a lot of different types of career path is, to me, there is a difference between people who've stayed in one organisation all their life and people who've moved around. And I think moving around gives you different perspectives, and having those different perspectives rather than one industrial or government perspective is very valuable, certainly if you're kind of trying to broaden your career. So I think I'd say play with airplanes early in your career while you've got the time and flexibility, and move around because it'll broaden your perspective.
And I suppose the other thing would be join the Royal Aeronautical Society and network and use it and
absolutely, yeah. I mean, it goes almost without saying. I joined it while I was still in the sixth form, so quite unusual. A long time ago. It's quite intimidating, I have to say, but I joined. It's a bit scary going down to the then Lanchester Polytechnic and asking the chairman to say, "Will you propose me?" But the point was, early on, great friend and mentor of mine, Dave Wilson, shout out to Dave Wilson down in Farnborough, said, "Oh, you're interested in this sort of thing. We're about to set up a unit branch. You're the secretary. It'll be good for you." Something like that. I remember it well. So that's how I got involved in the society professionally, and I've just sort of gone round. And yeah, it's definitely a case of the more you put in, the more you get out. You meet lots and lots of interesting people. So absolutely.
Fantastic. So you're going to hand over to our new president, Alistair Wood, very shortly. What advice or tips have you got for him?
Alistair's a great guy. Alistair knows the society really well. He's done lots of work at all levels in the society. So I'm sure he'll make his own mark and do a great job. I think the thing that I would say is follow the charter. That is what we're about. I've interpreted it in my own way. I do refer to the charter a lot because that is our founding document. And what else are we required to do? So we're a charity, so we are committed to do charitable output, which we do, but that's what we're required to do. And we're a professional engineering institute, so we're bound by a professional engineering institution. So we're bound by the Engineering Council, again, correctly. So it's really follow the charter, follow the charitable outputs, and look at what the Engineering Council says. And that's it. That's what you're meant to be doing, and then put your own mark on it.
Okay, so once you hand over, you become what we call immediate past president. Now, what does that involve? You're still involved in the society in that way. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so what does that mean? So as you said, it's a formal role. It's a bit of a backup for the president in that sense, deputising for the president when they can't make it. At a practical level, I've been running around collecting ideas. I've been refining, in particular, my ideas on design, build, fly, and the professionalisation of space. The stuff that I've started off there that I intend to carry on in my year as past president. Certainly on the design, build, fly, I've set the groundwork. We had an agreement with the BGA, British Glide Association, great organisation. Shout out for Pete Stratton there, who's been really helpful in the last few weeks. The Light Aircraft Association, British Microlight Association, and also DFT providing that top-down cover. When we did the conference, we had the minister saying, yeah, this is a good idea, which was encouraging. So there's a lot to carry on with there. One of the great outcomes from Friedrichshafen, from my point of view, was liaising with the ACAF League. The ACAF League have a summer flight test school, and they have invited anybody from the UK, effectively academics and students and anybody else who's interested, to come and see how to do test flying of gliders at their summer camp.
Ooh.
That's on a video on the LinkedIn and YouTube with the contact details there. So trying to follow that up in terms of, that is a very concrete short-term offer. Figure out what that means, linking between the BGA, British Gliding Association, reaching out there, linking into student gliding clubs, that sort of thing, and also linking into the Deutsche Aero Club. You said there's been quite a strong Anglo-German flavour. Yeah, because the models seem to fit quite well.
Yeah.
So when I was in Friedrichshafen, I had a good interview with the head of the Deutsche Aero Club. That's online again. But there, he'll be at the flying in Germany, bringing the students together. So I'm hoping to get there. So it's really the beginning of these ideas that I've had bouncing around in my mind. That's what the conference was trying to set the agenda for, and following that through. And again, a little bit of a plug online. I've done videos which address the issues around organising an ACAF League-like structure, and they're now all on the AEROSOC LinkedIn channel, where I've tried to address in short bites. So, okay, what are the challenges? For example, insurance, and I've done interviews about how people can address them. So I'm really trying to not only set the ambition, the agenda, my job as president, but also say, okay, and this is how you do it. So that's going to be the next year, I think, trying to follow all that up.
Brilliant, yeah. Well, I mean, if you've not seen David's videos there, his pieces to camera at places like the LAA Rally or Aero Friedrichshafen, really great stuff. Put you in front of an aeroplane, and the enthusiasm just comes out. And I suppose the immediate past present there also, it's helping maintain that momentum and you're keeping the kind of continuity, isn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose, yeah. Was it so the presidential year? Was it what you expected? Would you do it again?
Two questions. Was it what I expected? I didn't actually know what to expect. The only way to do it is to do it in that sense, because certainly when you are the face of the society, it's a privilege, but it's something that I think we all presidents try and do professionally in our own way. So there's definitely a matter of trying to figure out how you want to present yourself, and trying to be relatively clear on the messages you're trying to get across. So that's been a tremendous learning experience from my point of view. It's also been a learning experience to interact with a lot of different groups. My background is primarily military aviation, and engaging with groups that I'm not familiar with has been a real learning experience. I mean, that's been although I've been primarily about developing the community and setting the agenda for the community, there's been quite a lot of personal learning. And for example, I was invited to the BALPA dinner, so the British Airline Pilots Association dinner. Great, really nice event. One of the things that struck me, pretty obvious in retrospect, was there was a lot of advertising stands for medical insurance. And I was thinking, why is this? Because the livelihood depends on maintaining your Class 1 medical, and therefore something that as a leisure pilot, medical problems are annoying, but they don't threaten your livelihood. If you're a professional pilot, all of a sudden that becomes a central concern. So what does it do? Again, I mentioned about developing a career, seeing different perspectives. One of the things I found this year is I've really had exposure to a lot of different perspectives, which has been great from my point of view. To answer you, would I do it again? Yeah, probably in a similar way. Have I learned a lot? Yes. It's quite hard work, so but it's what you sign up to.
Brilliant. Okay, so it's broadening your knowledge then. Yeah. Fantastic. So this summer, its airshow season is coming up. We've got the Paris Air Show coming up in June, and other air shows around and about, Riyadh, Duxford, Shuttle. Are you going to be at any of these air shows? And if so, what are you most looking forward to?
Yeah, I'll definitely. I'll turn up at what I can make it to in terms of a diary and what I get invited to. Definitely as past president, Alistair will be the president. I think it'll be to use a bit of a modern phrase, it'd be interesting to see what the vibe is.
Right.
In the professional sphere. I mean, clearly, if we're looking at air shows where it's fun aeroplanes, that's fun aeroplanes and fun aeroplanes. But in terms of the professional sphere, clearly the world has evolved.
Yeah.
And seeing how that is reflected in the industry will just be fascinating.
Excellent. Okay. So we're coming to the end of this slot now, but we've got some fun questions to finish off your presidential year, which aren't on your list.
Right.
So, favourite airplane? What's your favourite airplane?
Mosquito.
Good choice. Good choice there.
No hesitation there.
Yeah.
And by the way, I do need to get back to Salisbury Hall. Salisbury Hall, I visited in the sixth form. I haven't been back since. I need to get to Salisbury Hall.
Maybe that's a challenge for the next flight, isn't it? Yeah. If a mosquito, it's got to be a mosquito that turns up in UK skies, and
if you can sort it out, Tim, I'll be really interested.
In the queue behind me first. Favourite aviation movie?
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Or it can be a space movie. It can be a spaceflight movie. You know.
There's a series called From the Earth to the Moon.
Oh, yes.
HBO.
Yes.
About 20 years ago.
Yes.
Tom Hanks, Chronicle of the Apollo. I think it's brilliant and really, really factually correct. And if anybody's into space uber geek things, the episode on the LEN, the lunar module, is brilliant because it's using a lot of original film. So it's how the LEN was developed. That is a highlight for me of aviation drama.
Did you get to the Apollo Lightroom?
Yes, I did. Thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah, no, that was fantastic as well. That was a really immersive experience there on space. Again, narrated by Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
So, okay, final one then. Favourite flight sim?
Favourite flight sim? Oh, right, that's quite interesting.
Or space, it could be a space sim,
I quite like Condor.
Okay.
So I use Condor a lot, so that's a gliding simulator.
Gliding simulator.
Really, really accurate simulator. Yeah. So in terms of just doing your basic stuff and getting your head around it, I think it's a really good, narrow, but really, really good simulator. I think, to be honest, as you know, simulators have their place. They're really good. Condor, though, used at gliding clubs, used in it's a really good, specific simulator, and in fact I'll probably be flying it tonight to get back current on my aero toes, because it's really good for practicing aero toes.
Fantastic. So we're kind of wrapping up now, but I'd just like to say it's been an absolute pleasure to have you as our president of the past year, and work with someone who's so enthusiastic, passionate about flight, especially at the grassroots level. Every president brings a different viewpoint. You've got this design, build, fly, this grassroots aviation, go out, light aviation, but also the professionalism of space flight, which is a huge, just speaking from the magazine, it's a huge area that we're growing all the time, and also the environmental sustainability challenge isn't going away. But we have got a little bit of a kind of a going. We did this last year. And we have got a little bit of a going away. So have a look at this.
We're open this now,
You've got to open it now.
This is a surprise.
You've got to show it on camera. We've got to. So, given that you are the
very good.
So, for those of you listening, this is a T-shirt to tie in with the president being the first president to fly a jetpack. James Bond, Thunderball, and Sean Connery with a jetpack there. So thank you very much. I'd like to say thank you very much on behalf of the staff here, but also thank you very much in terms of our branches, our members, our divisions, and the whole aerospace community for all the hard work you put in. I know it's really, really hard work, and it's long hours, and it's travel, and stuff like that. And you've done a fantastic job of being our president. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Welcome back, and I think you'll admit that was a fantastic roundup, a debrief with David Chen. It's been great to have him as a president. He's just so enthusiastic. He's been so enthusiastic about grassroots aviation, design, build, fly, flight simulation, gliding, jetpacks,
space. I had the privilege of 2 trips with David. We went to Aero Friedrichshafen, and then we went out to Bremen for the space show. And great company, but such an enthusiast for that encouragement to the next generation into what we do. So yeah, he's been a great ambassador for us.
Yeah, fantastic. We're all going to miss him here. He's got a t-shirt to remember us by, and we're going to have a new president. So stay tuned for that. We're going to get him on the show and introduce him. So we're now going to take a look at what's happening in the May 2025 issue. So what have we got in this issue? Well, quite a bit. Europe looks to the future. So we've got our lead story for this month is from Ed Hunt, and it's looking at future fighters, and in particular the European dimension, which is now gathering momentum. We've had NGAD revealed. The contract has been sort of awarded to Boeing. What does this mean for Europe, for the SCAF, the Franco-German-Spanish and Belgian project, and also GCAP going on there. So some good analysis there from Ed of these projects, these future fighter projects, and something will be obviously be quite timely given its SDR, but also later on this month where we're going to have our FCAS summit at RAS HQ. What about you, Steve?
I've got a helicopter story actually, but not in the realms of general aviation, actually commercial helicopter story, which was written by two members of our maintenance human factors group, so Scott Allen and Simon Gill. And it is focused around offshore helicopters. So we often think of offshore helicopters for the oil rigs, but of course this is an expanding area now with green energy. So you've got wind turbines and solar farms, things all out onto the sea. So this is part of the Heli Offshore organization, and they've developed something called enhanced decision making in engineering, and this looks at training courses for maintenance crew for these helicopters, but not just teaching what to do, but asking the question, well, why are we doing it? So it's actually the decision making behind the engineering decisions. So really, it's looking at sandbox theories and actually having groups of engineers sitting around in workshops debating, well, this is the problem. How do we sort this problem out? And getting that engagement. And I think that's so important that in every industry, but particularly in aerospace engineering, it's not just, well, we do that because that's what we've always done. Well, why do we do that, and what can we do differently in getting that debate going? So a really interesting article there from the two guys.
Fantastic. Jack, how about you?
I've written a piece on my visit to the Farnborough International Space Show, which was really interesting, covered all aspects of the space sector, including novel ways of launching rockets, the infrastructure that needs to be built on the ground, and how we get power from outer space. So, for example, there was a company presenting its solution to have satellites that gather solar energy and then transmit it back down to Earth. Yes, it was a very interesting trip.
Okay, so that was the Farnborough International Space Show, wasn't it? There in Farnborough. Okay. So the other thing from me in this issue, this is a write-up of our digitization in defence roundtable. Absolutely fascinating event, and when I was at AEROSPACE earlier this week, one of the chaps from one of the people from the roundtable was there as well, explaining the digital side about AEROSPACE, and that's absolutely sort of fascinating to get input from Thales and BAE Systems, Lockheed Martin UK, etc., and try and sort of like and PTC. Who were the sponsors of that roundtable, but just a fascinating kind of brain dump of where the issues are in this sort of digitalization, and can it step up to the mark when the West is crying out for we want new weapons, we want them now, and we want them at scale. And that is the key challenge we're looking at now. Is funding is no longer a problem. It's how can you get them, and when can we have them, and how many? That was really useful. What about we've had an article about flying training?
Yeah, we have from our one of our young members, so part of our next generation board. So it's been written by Andrea Troso. And it's entitled Navigating the Flight Training Maze. So this is not about your initial learning to fly. This is about going from zero flying experience to the right-hand seat of an airliner. So Andrea's looked at the various options, so integrated training, modular training, the pros and cons of each, and what you can expect and how to get the most out of your training. I think this is if you've got somebody that you know, somebody in the family that is looking at a career as an airline pilot, this is a must read. As regular listeners know, I've spent a long time in the general aviation and flying training world, and it is a bit of a minefield once you get into this commercial training, and a very expensive minefield as well. You know, upwards of £100,000, well over £100,000 now to get your training. You know, if you fund yourself. There are scholarships available. They're touched on in the article. There's also now cadetships are coming back in, something which fell off after 9/11. But of course, you know, the con, the pro of that is somebody's paying for your training. The con is that you do it on their schedule, and you are bonded to that airline then until you effectively have paid off that debt that's around your neck. So it's a very good synopsis of, is this a career for you, and how's the best way to go about it? So if you've got somebody in the family, maybe son, daughter, grandson, granddaughter, niece, nephew, etc., that's thinking of this as a career, please put this article in front of them. It's a really good basis.
Excellent. Yeah, really good guide.
Yeah.
So we've also got our usual afterburner section of the magazine, and it's a real packed issue this month. But we have got our usual stuff in afterburner. We've got the president has been flying an electric aircraft, as you heard. We've got the Tornado F3 lecture at Weybridge branch. We've got a book review on the Avro Tudor with RAS late quiz, a report from that. And we've also got news of a new specialist group. So if you're not familiar with the society has a number of specialist groups, from aerodynamics to air law, weapons, is it advanced weapons, guided weapons, transport. And we've just started a new specialist group called Computing, Cybersecurity and Communications, C3. So this is all about digital. It's all about AI. It's all about all the software side of things. Probably long overdue, I think, in a way, but it's getting more and more dominant in every industry, and in particularly aerospace. So great to see that group set up. There's details there of who's in it, how to get involved, what their focus is, what their aims are. If you are in this field and you're into the software, in the data side of things, you need to be, well, one, aware of this group, and two, get involved. Get involved at the ground floor. It's only going to get that group is only going to get more important. If you are a member and you're involved with your local branch, do send us a branch news and events, photos, etc., to Deputy Editor Steve Bridgewater on stephen.bridgewater@aerosociety.com, who will attempt to squeeze them all in the rear of the magazine.
And when you do that, please send some photographs. That's the one thing we often struggle with is if you have a lecture, if you have an event, if you have a visit, take some photographs of the people that are there, ideally, so that we can see some of your members into the magazine itself. So as Tim said, we'll squeeze as much in as we can. We've got a busy couple of months coming up, but it's always nice to hear from the branches. So please send me your stuff.
Right, and over now to upcoming events and shout outs. So we're now gearing up for air show season. We're now gearing up for more things happening in the society. Next week we've got the AGM, next week, as this has been recorded, we've got the AGM on 8th of May. That's online. Also on 8th of May, we've got an RAS HQ lecture from the Chief Test Pilot Zero Avia. So if you want to know all about hydrogen-powered flight, hydrogen electric-powered flight, and what Zero Avia are doing, you need to be there at RAS HQ in London. 12th of May, we've got a lecture, Flight Testing the Britten Norman Islander, adding new capabilities. So that's going to be all about obviously Britain, Northern Ireland, and I think it's going to be about testing a new 5G antenna on it from the look of it. But again, head of flight test. Where else are you going to get these people to come and listen and learn from them? 14th of May, we've got the RAS Corporate Partners event. That's the UK CAA annual address by Sir Stephen Hillier, Chair of the UK Civil Aviation Authority. So that is, if you're a corporate partner or your company is a corporate partner, that's a great one to get along to. Fantastic networking opportunities, and also, you get to hear from head of the CAA. 21 to 22nd of May, FCAS Summit 2025, redefining the future of air and space power. You'll see the adverts in the magazines. You'll probably see the adverts online. That is, again, shaping up to be a must-attend event. It's having checked the latest sort of agenda and the latest program. The things are kind of bubbling under, as they say. And there's some there's some actually, some decent names there that are now sort of signed up for it. I'm not going to say them just in case I jinx it, but it's going to be all about future air power and future fighters. As our latest issue makes clear, they are in the news at the moment. NGAD, we've got the FCAS, Tempest, GCAP. Whatever happening in China, there's a new one every week. So that is and also the drones and training cyber space as well. So another must attend a conference there.
Brilliant.
22nd of May, we've got the RAS annual banquet, the social event of the year for the global aerospace community. Really good sort of networking and a chance to let your hair down a little bit. But again, annual banquet. If you're not booked a table, get in quick, because the tickets are going fast. Then moving forward to June, we've got 25th of June from the RAS. We've got a sustainability conference. Sustainability Week is back. That's going to be fascinating. And we've also got a part 2 of the Space Sustainability Conference that is coming back, which is on the 26th of June, Earth and Space. We've also, 10th of June, I'd be remiss to not mention this, Aeronautical Heritage Specialist Group is doing Battle of Britain 85th anniversary.
This is looking great, isn't it? I'm really looking forward to this.
So we've got Jane Guilford Lowes talking about Bomber and Coastal Command's contribution. So she's just got a book out on mine laying, the mine laying effort that's been completely, I won't say completely forgotten, but it's one of those forgotten aspects. Yep. Adrian Constable considering civil air operations of the Battle of Britain. Who knew there were civil operations? Paul Beaver, obviously, reviewing the Fleet Air Arm contribution. And Dr. Victoria Taylor, who's talking about the Luftwaffe's aircrew and ground crew's morale during the battle. And having read her new book, Eagle Days, that's really, really interesting on the Battle of Britain and the view from the Luftwaffe side. But it's busting a lot of myths of, either they're invincible or they're complete amateurs, and this is providing some nuance there. So that's a great thing for the 85th anniversary of the Battle of Britain. Yep. Plus, also in June, there's the Paris Air Show, which we will all be at. We'll be there covering the show all week, and so send us your embargo news ahead of the show. Get in touch. You've got news, you've got interesting people to talk to, you've got experience flights, you've got demo flights, you name it, send it our way. We'll be there, let's say, the whole week, hoovering up as much news as possible. Yep. What else in our show news, Steve? Over to you.
We're getting to the point of the season now where things are starting to firm up with the big shows and the little shows as well. But, the big news from a historic point of view this month is that R4D has arrived. So R4D is effectively a Douglas DC-3 Dakota. The US Navy called them the R4D, and this is an aircraft operated by the Commemorative Air Force in Dallas, called Ready for Duty R4D. Arrived at Duxford just a couple of days ago as we record this, and that'll be undertaking a tour around a lot of European events and air shows, and also appearing at lots of the UK shows, so particularly Duxford and Old Warden and places like that. Big news for Riyadh, though. They've got massive support from Italy this year. Actually, last year was good with the Italian centenary, but they're back in force again this year with the Frecce Tricolori and the Riposta Spadamentali Volo are bringing across their C-27 Spartan and the AMX, different aircraft like that. So that's interesting. But from a static point of view at RIAT, Greek Mirage 2000s, so Hellenic Air Force, we're used in the last few years to Phantoms from the Hellenic Air Force. This year they're bringing across Mirage 2000s. That's, we think, the first time they've been at an Air2 for many years, probably 20 plus years. So that's going to be a real star for the enthusiasts. Cosford also pulled some really good things out of the hat over the last couple of weeks, both the French Rafale and the Polish F-16 demo. So Cosford now the last RAF air show. Obviously, RIAT is organised as a separate organisation. Cosford is the last Royal Air Force show. And good to see support there from France and Poland. And lastly, Midland Airfest, Captain Bruce's Ballistic Barnstormers. Have you seen those before, Tim?
No, I haven't.
Because this is their debut performance. This is Bruce Buglass from Slape Airfield. So they've got a couple of Taylor monoplanes, and they've got a Stomp and a Skybolt. And this is proper old-fashioned barnstorming. So for me, that's, I've said before, that for me is what air shows are about, really inspiring and entertaining a young audience. So looking forward to seeing Bruce and the guys do that.
Brilliant. Okay, yeah, and also RIAT as well. Spanish Aviate Visa back. So the Harriers, and they were a star of the show last year. I mean, I was there getting a tour of the atmospheric research 146 at the time, the FAB, and there was huge noise in the sky, and all the air cadets around sort of turned around and said, "Yeah, it's the Harrier," and it was bowing there, cadets there with their mouths wide open. Right, okay, we are coming to sort of the end of this episode now, but we're just going to have a quick watching, reading. What are we watching, reading, playing? Who wants to start? Who wants to kick off?
I'll start. With the outgoing president David Chin visiting Gravity Industries to test their jetpack, I'd recently read the book Taking on Gravity by the company's founder Richard Browning, which is really interesting, where he explains his journey from being a trader in the City of London to developing this jet suit in his spare time, and talking about the processes and challenges involved in that. So it's a really very interesting read, particularly as he explains the growth of his business, and he takes a jet suit overseas.
What was his inspiration then?
He's inspired essentially by wanting to crack the challenge of human flight, which really goes all the way back to the myths of Icarus.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. Steve, what about you?
I've been watching the new Warplane Workshop series on Channel 4, on More 4. So I think by the time you'll have heard this, I think the fourth episode will have gone out, which I think is on Sopwith Strutter. The first episode was on the rebuild of a D-Day veteran Spitfire. But for me, the standout so far has been episode 3, which was a behind-the-scenes look at the Sywell Air Show, but particularly with the now late Richard Grace. Yeah. So Richard knew he was ill at that point, knew he'd got an incurable cancer, and wanted to put on this big air show. Effectively, it's his last big hurrah. So I have to say, I think there was a bit of dust in the air towards the end as I was watching it, because it was a very. I didn't know Richard well. We would nod and say hello, but it's not somebody I would call a friend. But still, it's been a huge blow to the historic aviation industry to lose Richard, and a nice tribute to it. We know a lot of these programs often build in the sort of the false jeopardy, will the aircraft be ready? We've got to change the oil in time for the show kind of thing. And I was pleased that they didn't do that with this, that it was plain from the very first moment Richard hadn't made it. So there was it didn't come as a shock towards the end, but it was a very tasteful and a lovely tribute to a great man who's very much missed.
Yeah, a heartbreaking loss there. I mean, like I say, I didn't know him as well, but it's a very small, tight-knit community, isn't it, in the warbird world, and there may be people who are rivals, or there's kind of egos involved, but in the end, it's it's very tight knit and close. So yeah, terrible loss. So what I've been doing,
What about you?
I've been messing around in flight sims again. So there was a new map that came out for DCS. I swore off acquiring it, and then saw some of the screenshots, and then saw a video where somebody had put the map to Nina's 99 red balloons. So this is DCS. It's the DCS World Sim, and they've got a Cold War Germany map out, and blooming heck, it's incredibly detailed. So obviously a lot of other maps there in DCS are kind of deserty, not much detail going on. This is stunning. I mean, it's basically you're flying on a helicopter, looking out the window, and there's bikes in people's backyards, or a newspaper stands in Berlin, or Checkpoint Charlie, or airports. And it seems they've optimized it very well. I was expecting to turn into a slideshow. I'm flying in VR, and on a fairly old machine now, and I was expecting to to just be unplayable, and it's very well optimized, and just flying around there in a Gazelle hedge hopping, or taking a Phantom, in RAF Germany colours, and you got a big grin on your face in a way, it's a playground for kind of history and these iconic aircraft that DCS allows you to fly. So yeah, kind of recommend.
Brilliant.
Right. Okay. With that, we're gonna finish off now. Finally, where people can keep up with the RAS and the mag. So you can keep up with us.
Yeah, you can keep up with us. Magazine is the website is aerosociety.com. So we have our twice weekly blog on there. You can also download our app. Don't forget, we've got the app if you're a member. You can get the magazine before it hits the doormats in paper variety, if you like. We have very active LinkedIn and Facebook pages for the society. So that's AeroSoc or Aero Society. If you search for both of those, you'll get our LinkedIn and our official Royal Aeronautical Society Facebook page.
And we're obviously also personal accounts on social media as well. So I'm on X as RAS Tim R. I'm still tweeting there, posting. As well as Blue Sky. You guys are on there as well. Steve, you're on as RAS Steve B.
Yeah, Jack, I am. And I also use Facebook and LinkedIn as a professional thing. So feel free to send me requests at Stephen with a PH, Stephen Bridgewater, at both Facebook and LinkedIn.
And Jack?
Find me on X at RAS Jack R.
And just as a sort of a closing note is. Do send us your feedback, your questions. Do like us on YouTube. Just subscribe to us if you're not subscribed on YouTube. We're also, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes for you to download this podcast. And give us your feedback. We're interested in knowing what you think, what suggestions, what you like, what you don't like. Send them our way. And that's a wrap for this episode of RAS Podcast, NOTAM Podcast. A special thank you to Lockheed Martin for their support in driving aerospace innovation forward here in the UK, and to allied militaries around the world. To explore their latest advancements and industry insights, visit lockheedmartin.com. And with that, it's bye from me, and we'll see you next episode.
Bye. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.